Om Namo Narayana, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivam, Shivaham, Om. Welcome to another Satsang with your host, Chuck the Yogi from the Yogi Cave on this soggy autumn morning. Let us continue with the Vivekachudamani. Nirvikalpa Kamana Lpama Ksharam Yat Kshara Vilakshanam Param Nityamav Yaya Sukham Niranjanam Brahma Tatvamasi Bhava Yatmani. That which is free from duality, infinite and indestructible, distinct from perishable and imperishable, supreme and eternal, permanent and indivisible bliss, untainted. Tatvamasi, that Brahman art thou. Meditate on this in your mind. Yad vibhati sadanekada Brahma nan maru paguna vikriyatmana hemavats vayamavikriyam sada Brahma tatvamasi bhavayatmani. Reality which through one appears as many due to delusions, though itself always unchanged, assumes names and forms, qualities and changes, like gold which remains unchanged through all its modifications. Tatvamasi, that Brahman art thou. Meditate on this in your mind. Yak chakas dhyana param parat param pratyagekara samat malakshanam satyachit sukamanan tamavyayam Brahma tatvamasi bhava yatmani. That beyond which there is nothing, beyond is beyond, which is beyond the beyond. The inmost self of all, which is of one essence, which is continuous existence, knowledge and bliss, Sachidananda, infinite and immutable, that Brahman art thou. Meditate on this in your mind. Utkamarta mimamat mani svayam bhavayet paratita yukti birdiya samshaya dira hidham karam bhuvat tena tatvani gamo bhavishyati. One must meditate in one's mind through the intellect on the truth conveyed above by means of scriptural reasoning. By these means, one will realize truth without any doubts, just like water in the palm of one's hands. So reasoning to reach beyond reasoning. It's the way he uses. Samboda damatram parishuddha tattvam vijnaya sange nirbhavacha sanye tadashrayaha svatmani salvada stito vilapaya brahmani vishva jatam. Having realized oneself as supremely pure knowledge, free from ignorance and its effects, like the king in an army, and resting in that knowledge and being ever established in one's own self, merge the objective universe into the Brahman. Buddha gu hayam sada sad vila kshanam brahmasti satyam paramadvitiyam tadat mana yotra vasid guhayam punana tasyangu gaguha praveshaha. In the cave of the intellect there is the Brahman, the supreme non-duality, dual reality, distinct from relative truth and untruth. One who dwells in this cave as Brahman has no rebirth. So the idea that everything comes from Brahman, returns to Brahman, the idea is to do that within your mind, basically. Jate vastun yapi balavati vasana nadi resha kalta bhokta pyahamiti darida yasya samsara hetu pradya drishtya tmani nivasata sapaniya prayatna. Nimukting parahus tadiha munayo vasana thana vam yat. Even though the truth is known, there remains powerful, beginningless, deep residual impression that one is the doer and the enjoyer, which is the cause of rebirth. That impression has to be carefully removed by living in an inward state of steady identification with the self. The annihilation of these impressions here and now, these vasanas, is called liberation by the sages. And that's the process of purification. Aham mameti yo bhavo dehak shada vanatmani adyaso yam nirastavyo vidvusha svatmanishtaya. This notion of me and mine exists in the body, sense organs, etc., which is not self. The wise must end this false identification by being firmly established on the self with a capital S. Shnyatva svam pratyagat manam buddhita di vritti sakshinam sohamit yeva sad vritya natman yat mamatin jahi. Realizing your innermost self as the witness of the intellect and its modifications, and ever maintaining the thought that I am that, conquer your identification with the not self. Lokhanu vardhanam tyaktva dehanu vardhanam shastranu vardhanam tyaktva svadhyasa panayam kuru. Renounce your involvement with the ways of the world. Give up following after the body, leaving aside unnecessary pursuing of the scriptures, and banish the superimposition which has crept up on the self. So even the pursuance of the scriptures can be a trap, right? Lokavasanaya jantoho shastra vasanayapi cha dehavasanaya janam yathavanaiva jayate. People cannot attain realization because of their desire to run after the world, their thirst for unnecessary study of the scriptures, and their anxiety to pamper the body. So all are potential traps. Samsara kara griham mokshamicho rayo mayam padani bandash ring kalam vadante taishnaha patu vasanatrayam yosmad vimuktaha samupaiti mukting. The wise have spoken of the three kinds of residual impressions as iron fetters that bind the feet of the person that desirous of liberation from the prison house of this world. One who is free from them truly attains liberation. Jaladisham sargavashat prabhuta durganda dutha garudivya vasana sangar Sharnenaiva vibhati samya gvidoya mane sati bahya gande. Captivating fragrance of the sandalwood, which gets enveloped by a bad odor created by its contact with water, can manifest itself as soon as the external odor is entirely removed. Odor. It's a misspelling there. Is entirely removed by scrubbing. Antaha shritanan taduran tavasana duli vilipta paramatma vasana prajnati sangarshanato vishuddha paratiyate chandana gandavat sputam. The fragrance of the Supreme Self, like the fragrance of a red sandalwood, is covered by the dust of residual impressions, vasanas, deeply ingrained in the mind, and is again clearly perceived when it is purified by continuous scouring or continuous washing or scrubbing with knowledge. Anant mavasana jalai stiro bhuthat mavasana Nityat manishtaya tesham nashe bati svayam sputam. Innumerable desires for things that are not self cloud the desire for self-realization. When these have been destroyed by constantly abiding in the self manifests clearly by itself. Yatha yatha pratya gavastitam manaha tatha tatha munshati vayavasanam nihi shesha mokshe sati vasananam atmanubutihi paratibandashunya. To the extent that the mind gets gradually established in the innermost self, to that extent it leaves its desires for the objects of the world. When all such desires completely end, then there is clear, unobstructed realization of the self. Svatman yeva sada stitva mano nashyati yoginaha vasananam kshayash-chattaha svadyasa panayam kuru. Being ever established in one's own self, the yogi's mind becomes still. Then there is complete cessation of residual impressions. Therefore, diligently put an end to all your superimpositions. Tamo dvadvyam rajaha sat vatsatvam shudena nashyati tasmat satvama vashtabhya svadyasa panayam kuru. Tamas is overcome both by rajas and sattva, rajas by sattva, and sattva by purification. Therefore, taking recourse to sattva, diligently put an end to your superimposition. So we're talking about a process of alchemy here. All right, I'm going to leave it there for now. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om. Shiva Om. Om. Jai Ma. Jai Ma Gan. Till next time.